there's more out there. This is Cindy with Titlesmart, and they'd be like, Title who? Title what? I always say that horses saved me. The husband killed the wife. For some reason, people always need a house.
Tell us about your favorite kid, Charlie. What car did I own in '98? Papa, nah, life? Is that?
That's pretty good. Bucked me up, stood right on my chest because we were building the case for the FBI. By the time I left the country after 2 years, I was flipped.
40 below?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
You can't buy anything today without title insurance. The previous owner told me, it'll never work the way you're doing it. I'm like, you want to bet? Did about 25,000 closings last year.
Christmas.
Well, in the real estate game, Titlesmart's like a household name.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weekly Deposit Episode 5. We have a very, very, 3 times very special guest, Cindy Koebele, who is the owner and founder of Titlesmart. And I'm going to have Cindy kind of tell you a little bit more about herself before we get into some questions. Cindy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Excited to have you.
Yes, we are super excited to have you.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. Yes, I am the owner and founder of Titlesmart.
Yes.
And we have 9 locations around the Twin Cities. We opened in 2007 and grew from 3 people. And at one point, we were probably about 140 and did about 25,000 closings last year. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
25,000 closings.
I know, it's crazy.
That
I mean,
is
Alright.
nuts.
yeah.
Did you ever think about that in 2007, that you would reach that number?
In 2007, I was like, I hope this is going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot's happened since then. I wrote and published 3 books, self-published, and I bought a ranch in South Dakota last year, and I'm running what they call a horse camp out there.
Okay.
Oh.
So people, it's actually a thing, I guess. People come in and camp with their horses from all around the United States, and they come out and see us in the Black Hills and camp at our place and ride out in the Black Hills National Forest.
That is very creative. I
Yeah.
never thought of that.
How
Sounds
many
very
horses
therapeutic.
are on the ranch?
Well, I have 7, and then the people I have managing the ranch have 2, and then those are really mostly just for our personal use. So when people come in, it's amazing. They come in, they have these huge rigs that have like a big living quarters, and in the back is where the horses come in, and they drive these huge things out to our camp, and then we have all these campsites, and they can just hook right up to electric and water and camp, and then we have little corrals for their horses and
Nice.
hay and
I'm sold.
it
No
is.
kidding.
Ella came out there last year, and it
Yeah.
is just like unbelievable. It's just big, huge, gigantic pine trees.
And no, we have been doing some research, so we
Yeah.
know you are big into the horses and the
Yep.
ranch and
Yeah, we're gonna
everything
talk.
like
I have a
that.
lot of questions. About
Yes, we have quite the we have a few questions about that, but I think we want to start out, at where Cindy was,
Yes.
2005, 6, 7, leading up to you making Titlesmart and those initial challenges you face. I think a lot of people, when they are having a business, the first 2 to 3 years is probably the hardest.
Yes.
So we want to kind of just deep dive in a little bit more about that. What challenges did you face? We did see your books. I think you said 2 children's books, and the other book, Obsessed to Success.
Yes.
Yes, I like that title, by the way.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
That's great.
But yes, what were those challenges, and what kind of how did that obsession to success develop?
Well, I was working for a large title company in the Twin Cities that was owned by one of the big real estate companies, and I always kept getting passed over for management. And I wasn't really appreciated for the business that I brought in, because I brought in a lot of business that was outside of the realty network. And I would get really frustrated at the end of the year when they'd hand me an envelope with $25 in it. The same envelope that they would hand to the
That's
temporary worker at the front desk.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Happy
I'm not-
holidays.
Yeah.
You're just a number there.
Yeah,
That's
I wasn't
it.
getting any
Yeah.
type of recognition or acknowledgement or compensation for all that extra that I did. And I couldn't not do it because it was just who I was. And so eventually I got recruited by when Keller Williams just came into the Twin Cities, and one of the franchises decided they wanted to open a title company. So they recruited me in, and I grew that, and we built it into like 7 offices. And after 5 years, I'm like, I could do this for myself.
Yeah.
And so, bad timing, 2007, I incorporated the business. I resigned. I opened. And then my sister and my best friend, Lori Weaver, Angela, we all just kind of started. We had a little tiny office space that was like 1,000 square feet on the upper level with no elevator, and one tiny little closing room. And we were like, okay, let's go. So then I'd call people and be like, this is Cindy with Titlesmart. And they'd be like, title who? Title what? They didn't know. There's like this new title company.
Right.
So
Yeah.
then the bottom fell out of the market. So there was everything with all of the, you've ever seen that movie, The Big Short?
Yes.
Yeah. The Big Short. Yeah.
It's so funny because
Margin Calls and Big Short, 2 great movies to
great
watch.
movies.
Yeah. But go on.
I just thought about that. I saw that movie a couple years ago for the first time, and I looked at my husband and I'm like, I survived that. That's when I actually opened and built my business. He's like, yeah, I know. So, we were basically sitting there, and we had just a handful of clients, and we had to really get serious and decide that we were going to build the business regardless of the recession and regardless of what was going on in the market. And we just started, and one relationship at a time. We had just enough closings. We did a few adjustments. We had, we started out saying, okay, we're going to pay ourselves this. Well, then a couple months in, we're like, I don't know if we're going to be able to make payroll. So then I'm like, so now we're going to pay ourselves this. So I cut everybody's salaries by 25%, which was a lot at the time. And we sat down and we really set some solid goals. And I really started to visualize how I could see the business running and what challenges we were facing. I was like, we have to just will this into being.
And I would like to ask you, when you were going through all this, how did you keep a level head? What do you do? How do you wake up in the morning? How do you get your day started? When it's all this on your plate.
It's a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, right? So
yeah, it was crazy. And luckily I had 2 little kids at the time, so I didn't really have time to think. And I was at the point where I was, living paycheck to paycheck, and I was opening a new business. So I was advancing on my credit cards and just trying to pay what I could. And I looked at my husband at the time, and I'm like, do you think this is going to work? Am I ever going to see a light at the end of the tunnel? And he's like, yep, it's going to work. I watched you in action. I know that you can do this.
That's great support.
Yeah. He was always really a big cheerleader and always behind me. So there was a couple of days where I was sitting in the office and I looked and I had 2 files in my rack where we keep our closing files. And I'm like, geez, I got to get some business. And, I can just say we just believed, and we just, I would go out and I'm like, I'm going to meet somebody tonight. I'm going to make a connection for my business.
So
and
that was the
determined.
breaking point for you.
Yeah.
It's like when you seen those 2 files and you're like, all right, now I got to go be a shark or I got to go be a wolf. So what was that process like? Did you just tell the other people in the office too, like, hey, we got to make 50 connections this week, or, there's got to be something where we just hit it and run? Did you have that conversation?
We did weekly meetings where I literally went through the book, The Secret.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I don't want to hear anyone talking negative, and I don't want anyone to say that things are going bad and that things are rough. I only want you to focus on how our business is going to grow. Mm-hmm. And everywhere you go, I want you to fully be expecting that you're going to make a connection. And I know it sounds kind of woo-woo, but it worked. Mm-hmm. I ended up with that same week where we had that meeting, I ended up going out to dinner with my husband, and I put my business cards in my little blazer pocket, and I'm like, I'm running into someone tonight. And literally I walked in, I ran into an agent I hadn't seen in years, and he's like, oh my God, I was just thinking about you the other day. We're starting to do short sales. And I'm like, oh, we're experts at those. We really weren't, but we were experts at becoming experts. Yeah. So we knew we could just wing it. So next thing I know, he contacted me and he connected me with another agent who to this day is my all-time best client. And I've been working with him since that time period. But we got busy and we learned how to do these short sales, and we started getting both sides of those, and then we started meeting other agents because of those, and they were like, wow, I never had somebody call me back so quickly and email me back so fast. And This response time is like no other. And then just standing behind the work.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of companies fall short. It's
Yep.
like, okay, my person forgot this or missed this or made this mistake. Fix it. Don't sit there and dwell on whose fault it is and wah. Just figure out a way forward and fix it. Take the hit. Be accountable, because I know that the customer I'm working with is going to trust me so much more if I'm like, you know what, I screwed up,
Yeah.
Yep.
but I'm going to fix it.
Just be honest.
Yeah.
You're a problem solver, and we're
Yeah.
all human.
A lot of
Yeah.
title companies like to play the blame game, right?
Oh, I hate that.
So yeah.
I'm like, you screwed it up. You missed it. Now let's just work together and fix it. Take
like
the
that.
hit.
It's hard for a lot of people to take accountability.
Yeah, it is. And
You
it's
know.
a problem across the board with all business.
Yeah.
But it's one thing, that has really helped me solidify those relationships with the clients I work with, because they know that I'm going to call them and go, oh my God, I screwed up so bad and missed these taxes. We'll go ahead and get them added back on there. We'll cover them. And if I wouldn't have, I may never have seen a deal from that client.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
I think, at the beginning, obviously, when you start a business, you don't have top dollars for marketing or this or that. So you're depending solely on your word of mouth and doing good business by
Yes.
people.
your customer
Right?
service.
So, and Cindy's 2007, when everything's kind of going to shit, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I would
in
say
the world.
it's the worst, but
Yeah.
best time to start, because such a beautiful story of where you are at now.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
But I think it's her obsession,
Yeah.
her tenacity, her proactiveness to either pick up the phone or her manifestation of going to meet someone. I think those are all great traits to have as an entrepreneur, because there is tough times. There is times where you are not sure what the next day is going to be, or if next week or this or that. So it's very edge of the seat stuff, which can be thrilling to some people.
Well, even right now, this year, everything has kind of returned in the real estate and title market to 2019 levels. I knew that was going to happen. I prepared for it. You can't expect to be in an unprecedented, busy pandemic market for 2 years and expect it to go on for the rest of your
Your
business
life.
I
career.
agree. Yeah.
So you
You're
have
right.
to plan. Well, a lot of title companies didn't plan, and I've heard in the last couple of weeks of some that are closing their doors.
Yeah, I've heard of quite a few.
Yeah, and I
closing.
actually sit there and I just look at them like, what? Because what did you do with all that money? You just made a fortune over
Vacation?
those years.
Goodness.
Yeah. Distributions of profits. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you have to save, you have to plan, and you have to look forward to the time when you're not going to be as busy, because I like to retain my staff and still be able to treat them well, because I don't want to have to train people from the bottom up again once it gets busy. So it's really important to...
I feel like that's more cost. It's more cost effective to keep them
Yes.
happy rather than doing the whole.
Yeah.
What they have, what we like to call in the revolving door.
Yeah.
Where it's just like people coming in and out, and it's basically, and no shame against this, they're hourly paid people, so they maybe sometimes they're not in it.
They just
Like
don't
that.
care.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
care.
Some do, some don't. So I don't want to
lot of-
blanket
a lot-
statement.
a lot,
yeah,
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to blanket
Yeah.
statement anyone, but it's very hourly paid type transactional work. Where in our world it's not like that.
No. Now,
No,
I have
no.
a question for you. Now, a lot are closing their doors. You ever thought about expanding more and maybe taking over some, or?
Acquisition?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I looked into that, but for my business so I'm a service business, and even for companies that are looking to sell their business, it's really hard to put a value on that, because it's your talent, and your talent can just up and walk out the door.
True.
So for me to look at buying another title company, they'd have to fall in love with everything that we're doing and be on
The
board
whole
with
vision
that.
and concept and everything.
Yeah.
So when I see a company go out of business, first thing I'm like is I'm really sad for them that they mismanaged or had misfortune of some sort.
Yeah.
And I try to learn from that. And then also I try to pick up those customers as they go along by the wayside.
Yeah.
And then that's really a win-win, because they do.
And-
When people start
Yeah.
talking like that, people scatter very quickly. And so that's why, and I'm sure you guys do that with real estate too. Like I'll be talking to a prospective realtor, and they'll be like, oh, I have a relationship with this person and I've been closing with them for years. I just love them so much. And I'm like, yep, I totally understand that. Now, if things ever change, if the relationship breaks down or they leave the business or they move or something like that, consider me your backup. And that happens a lot, where all of a sudden that change does come up, and right away they're like, I already know who I'm going to. I'm going to Titlesmart because I always told Cindy I would, and that's who I trust second. So,
well, in the real estate game, Titlesmart's like a household name. You know,
I attribute that to your branding and your marketing. It's, you know, I mean, you have a jacket right now with Titlesmart, so it's like the branding is just very on point. Hey, as you can see with us too, we're very big on
we kind of got the same similar colors. But if you've been in the business or at least a year full time, you've heard of Titlesmart.
Good.
I think, is that a fair statement to say?
Yes. I mean, you have 9 locations. I'm sure there's some more in the works, potentially. You know, maybe we'll get some secrets out of Cindy.
Maybe we might. Get
who knows?
Out.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, you should open an office here, and I'm like, you know how much work it is for me to open a new office. So
I was gonna be one of those people and say open up one in South Metro.
Maybe once you're done camping with the horses, you'll want to open another one. You'll get that entrepreneur itch.
I like to lead with revenue. So if I have an account that can support a closer, and the closer can also branch out and retain and accumulate new clients, then it makes sense.
Okay.
So each office that I opened, I had specific people that were designated that were going to either go there or were coming to us and needed that location. So we opened it specifically for them. Okay. And that works out.
Very quickly, how pre-planned is that? How many years to open an office, or is it a year? How, just real quickly,
like how long
Alec gets us off of here?
How long does it take to open an office?
From initial conception, like, okay, I want to open another office.
Yeah.
Then from planning and everything like that, obviously getting the place, the real estate side of it.
Yeah, it depends on what we end up doing. Like, I can go into like a temporary location, so I could get that set up within like 90 days. But usually I go and I want to have, my glass door conference rooms. I want everything to kind of look like, oh yeah, I'm at a Titlesmart office.
Yep.
So
I've closed at a few where they had that. I was like, this is nice in here.
Yeah. Well, no, again, like Cindy said, everything is very branded, very similar. So yes.
Yeah, so with build out, it would probably be, you'd probably be looking at finding an office and designing it and building it. You're looking at probably 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, and it just depends on what's available. But I can easily get an office up and running if I can find a space with a short-term lease or find just a temporary location for somebody. But like with Woodbury, I started out in a smaller place with them, and then we filled it. And then when their lease came due a year before that, I was looking and kind of planning, and then I ended up going with double the size. Okay. And now that's full.
Yeah.
Well, I guess our thing is like we're seeing like you have one in Faribault and Stillwater and stuff. And it's like potentially maybe St. Cloud, Duluth, Rochester. Who knows?
Is that a direction that you're heading?
Yeah.
Or is it?
Right now, I'm just so content.
Yeah.
So I'll probably wait now until, the real estate market stabilizes. I mean, I feel like we're still in a really good spot for the real estate market. People keep saying, oh my gosh, the interest rates and the inflation. And I'm like, you know what? For some reason, people always need a house.
Yeah, people are still going to close on a house.
Yeah. And I mean, I worked in title back when the interest rates were 8 and 9 and 11, and I still had closings. And then, then the refi boom comes and I close them again. So for some reason, they always kind of need us, even if it's a foreclosure market or if the first-time home buyers slow down and interest rates go up, then I have all these investors coming in and start gobbling up the real estate. So we always kind of stay steady. But I think I'll just wait until like the next boom before I
start thinking about that.
Yeah, start thinking about that. But I feel really content with just my business and how things are going and the amount of free time that I get now.
I think the thing I really thought about before this podcast, what I really wanted to ask you is the most simplest question, but the general public tends to not know. What is title? What does the title company do?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Okay, well, what's easiest for the consumer to understand is we are the closing company. We are the escrow settlement company. So it's basically our job to take a purchase agreement that either the parties enter into or the realtors help them enter into, and to honor the intentions of those parties. So we're going to take that and put together an entire settlement. So we have to search the title. We have to make sure that we do everything correctly to make a proper transfer to the new buyer. And we need to make sure that the buyer gets a clean title. And then we record the transfer, and then we ensure that the work that we did was correct. So there's a title insurance policy behind that. And so if there was a big lawsuit from a prior owner or a prior owner that was claiming some sort of interest to the property or some big mistake that the seller lied about, that's
or
where
liens too.
Yes, so there would be like a prior lien, like a seller had a judgment or a tax lien that they didn't disclose, and it showed up later that it was on the property before the transfer. Then the title insurance would kick in and defend that. So it doesn't mean we just like write a big check for that and everybody walks away, but we report that to the underwriter. They make a claim, and the underwriter hires attorneys to go in and fight that and settle it.
Gotcha.
So
there's a lot of work
I mean,
behind
yes, I think one of my questions here was title insurance. Get it, don't, or don't. And I think you've pretty much answered that, right?
Yeah, you can't buy anything today without title insurance. And it's funny because, I mean, I remember talking to this guy that I met through Alec that was from El Salvador. And he was like, oh my gosh, when I was explaining to him what we did, he's like, that would be the most amazing thing, because in El Salvador, you can't get title insurance, and they don't have this really slick property record system that we have in the United States. And so when you buy something, half the time you don't even know if you're really getting it.
Yeah, my family owns in El Salvador some land, so that's where we're battling all the legal documents and everything out there.
It's crazy.
So it's tough.
Yeah.
But another thing I wanted to ask you is just like in that time frame from like 2008 to 2014, did you see a lot of problems in title, like with foreclosures and?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot. After that time period, the underwriters came back to us and said, oh gosh, this is the biggest claims rate we ever had. And I'm like, too bad. That's why we shared all that premium with you.
Yeah.
So people think that the title company is just the one standing behind everything, but I actually have 6 underwriters that really want us to write for them. And so most title companies have like 1 or maybe 2. Well, I write for 6 because it gives me more leverage with settling issues. So let's say you sell a property and I'm the closer on it, and I find there's an issue, and the underwriter that insured it before was Old Republic, and now I'm using Fidelity. I can easily just switch that over to Old Republic. Okay. Or because I'm their customer and I write on their paper, I can call them and be like, hey, help me out here, otherwise I won't be your customer anymore. So, yeah, it's kind of like me, like if I'm an insurance agent, I write for auto owners or farmers.
Yes.
So with this gives you the opportunity to write for these different ones. So we're basically sharing in the premium with them. And then they also have some controls on us too. So they come in every year, audit our trust account, audit our practices, and make sure that we're doing a good job to continue to be an agent for them.
Yep. Okay. That makes sense. What's some common problems that you see? Or your closers see?
I'm trying to think. Okay, so I just had a really cool one that we worked on this summer. So I just want you to kind of picture like a block, a city block, like Shoreview, let's say.
Okay.
And there is this easement that's for utilities that's running all the way along the backside of the property on all the homes. Well, all these homes had built their sheds and their swing sets and their gardens and all this stuff over that easement.
On the easement?
Over years.
Oh, okay.
Over like 50 years. Well, now all of a sudden, the city came in and decided they're going to do something with that now, and told all the people that they have to move their stuff. So,
wow.
So if you look if you look at the block, let's just say that Titlesmart closed the one in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, we ended up looking at our policy because the people had to move their shed and their big garden they had, and we looked at our policy and we're like, okay, well, this client paid the extra amount to have the enhanced policy. So they actually had coverage on that. And even though, so we had them submit a claim to our underwriter, the underwriter denied it.
What?
I called the underwriter and made them get involved. And then we ended up actually hiring somebody to go out there, move the stuff. And then the underwriter paid the bill. Where all their neighbors were ticked because none of their title companies helped them.
Wow.
And I'm like,
Because they just gave up. They're just
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, it's not
I'm
my
like,
problem anymore.
I have
Yeah.
to stand behind my work.
Right.
And so, I mean,
That's
that one
amazing.
actually escalated up to me. And, you know, a couple people were like, not my fault, not my fault. And I'm like, no, we're standing behind our work. We're going to help this customer.
If you want to
So-
rewind, just rewind that little bit. It's really good. That's why you should choose them.
That's why you should choose Titlesmart. They go above and beyond.
Yeah, they do.
You know,
That's
it's
amazing.
important. And, you know, it was kind of fun to know that they were bragging to their neighbors about it.
Yeah. So did those neighbors eventually go with you, or?
Well, for them, they couldn't really go with us because they already
Yeah.
had their policies from when they bought.
Okay.
But, you know, I did tell them they should go and try to fight that a little bit more.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it just the weird stuff that comes up.
This is a great transition. I had a question here. I was like, some cool closing day type stories. We want some drama. Some,
Yeah, we want the juicy drama.
Like some like at each other's throats. Like, you sold me this hunk of junk house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
sure you have a lot of those.
I swear, we get the crazies of the crazies. So a couple of years ago, I know we were working on a situation where the husband killed the wife. Okay. And
It just got intense.
yeah.
Oh.
And
not
there was a
expecting that.
murder trial going on, and the husband and wife were joint tenants. And as we started going through working on the file, because sometimes when you just get the file, nobody tells you anything about it.
No.
And so, and we were representing the buyer, so we weren't even handling the seller side, but of course we're the insuring title company, so they have to provide everything to us. But it turned out that because the husband allegedly, awaiting trial, killed the wife, it severed their joint tenancy. So you know how they say when you're joint tenants, you have rights of survivorship. So if I'm
Severed.
married,
What a specific word to
Yeah.
use.
but you know, so basically,
messed
if the husband killed the wife and wasn't found guilty,
Mm-hmm.
then the property would have gone to him as the surviving joint tenant. So we had to escrow all of
And
the
if
proceeds.
he did do it,
Yeah, if he did do it, then
is he
no.
still
it's
getting
just-
the house while he's in jail? Or?
No, it severed the joint tenancy.
Oh, yes.
So then her money would go into her estate. And
Oh,
so what
okay.
happened was, in order to facilitate closing, we had to escrow all of the proceeds. And of course, we had attorneys and all these people helping us put it all together. But we escrowed all the money and we had to wait for the outcome of the trial. And he was
Guilty.
guilty.
Found guilty.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
The glove did fit.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so
That's
then-
crazy.
Yeah, so then what that did is it severed the joint tenancy, so now they're tenants in common. And then we were able to then pay his part of the proceeds to
Okay.
whoever it was. And then her half went, you know, into where we had to get a court order for her estate and blah, blah, blah. So that was kind of exciting.
He didn't get anything
You
for
know.
commissary.
What a story.
No, you know, people are
is
just like
nuts.
a boring title company. They
Yeah.
can just, you know. do
No,
whatever.
I have been a part of closing day mayhem per se, or fiasco,
Yeah.
depending on the title. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the title company. And
Most of the
pre-COVID,
time it doesn't.
It doesn't. You're just the middleman.
And
you know.
pre-COVID, the custom in Minnesota, it's not a custom everywhere, but the seller and buyer would be in the same room and they would be signing at the same time. I'm actually happy COVID changed that a
I
little
know.
bit, so I'm really happy about that. But it would be kind of like, I don't know, a weird like tension.
Tension.
It is awkward.
It
Well,
is.
it's
is awkward.
private stuff, you know. So
Yeah.
if the seller's sitting there listening to the closer go over the buyer's loan documents, that's really private.
Yeah.
That too. And it's just like, you sold me a dud.
Yeah.
Well, because it's like a
That's
face
what I thought when I
off.
was buying my house.
It's like a face off too, especially if
Yeah,
the
yeah.
seller feels like they didn't get the best end of the deal, or the buyer feels like they didn't get
Yeah.
the best end of the deal. It's kind of like, oh, well, now I see you.
Yeah. And now they want to chat and talk. And I'm like, no, we need to sign the papers.
The funniest is when, as the agent, you come in and either the opposite agent, their clients are like your friends or something, vice versa. Where it's like you got, like if me and you were doing a deal and like my client was your friend and then you guys like start hitting it off. It's just so weird. Like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, don't talk to him.
Talk to my client.
It really needed to change. And probably what else really needs to change is we need to, at some point, abolish the split closing. Whoops, sorry. Split closing meaning, so, the listing agent has their closer represent the seller and the buyer's agent has their closer represent the buyer. And here's why. Right now we've got this wire fraud and cyber fraud and everything that's going on. So the seller's closer will order the payoff for the seller and provide it to the buyer's title company, who will then put it on the settlement statement, pay it off. Well, how do I know that their email didn't get hacked and they got a fake payoff and then they gave it to me and now I'm responsible for it as the buyer's title company? So more and more of that stuff is happening.
Yeah.
And,
I actually got an email from a title company that I was closing with, and they reached out to my client. They were trying to get some stuff. Luckily, my client emailed me, and when I saw their email, it was just a little bit different. It was like a scammer. It was a
good thing you noticed that, because most people don't.
No, they don't. They don't. Wire fraud's big now.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's that's why I think, Cindy mentioned is like you have to have a domain also as well too. Yes, you can obviously get hacked, but if you have a domain through Google or something, it's a little bit harder because they have to have that domain, and that's how I've caught the scam. But I've also had this. I don't know if I've ever told you this story. So this happened to me. I'll tell you this very quickly. And this wasn't a title, but this was a check fraud. Since we're on fraud. We went to this house, we put earnest money, and then we requested the earnest money back because the deal fell through for whatever reason. We requested the earnest money back, and I said, hey, have the earnest money mailed to me. I'll drop it off to my client, kind of just, give them a little pep talk. Hey, this one didn't work out, the next one will type thing.
And another chance to see them.
Yeah, exactly.
Bond.
So I asked, for the check to be sent, and the check was like never sent, and it's like weeks and weeks, and it was like I think $6,000-$7,000, and I'm like, my client's like, hey, where's that check? They wanted it in 3 days, but they're giving it back to me in like 30. And so we contacted the other brokerage and everything. They're like, we sent that check out weeks ago. And we're like, what? Ended up being some fraud where someone took off his name, like intercepted the check somehow, took off his name, put a different name, deposited in Chicago, like this whole fiasco. Finally, like we had to go to that other broker. Like we need, that sounds like your problem. Like my client needs his money and everything like that. And they made us sign something like, of course we're going to, cooperate if there is a case or anything. But it was just crazy. Like they showed us the check, the exact check, and then like the name change. It looked legit, but the only thing that kind of caught me was the name, the person's name they put it in. They put their name in all caps. So I was like, who does that?
Yeah, no.
Well, and they probably remote deposited it. So it's
But it was like Chicago or something. They said they deposited it in or something. An ATM in Chicago.
Too good now.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
One thing something for you guys to watch out for too, and it just happened, is the new scam is vacant land. So
vacant land. Okay.
So picture this. A potential seller just calls you out of the blue and says, I own this property at blah, 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 Afton, Minnesota. We'll just give it an example.
There's a lot of land up there.
Yep.
Yeah. And I want to get it sold. So here's the information, and I'm in Texas and blah, blah, blah. And so you're dealing with the client the entire time. Well, we just had this happen. So the client, we sent the documents to the client. They met with a fake notary. We didn't know. Fake IDs. We didn't know. Everything came to us. We ended up catching them because they wanted their proceeds wired. And we used the system called Certified. So when you say you want to wire, we send you a link through our Certified system, and then you have to go through a knowledge-based authentication test, which is just information that only you know and could possibly know. Mm-hmm. And they failed it like 3 times. So that was just like, why would that happen?
What car did I own in 98?
Yeah. Well, and we can ask them too, like, why did they fail it? Did they just miss a simple question? Blah, blah, blah. But these were just like down and outright. There was something wrong.
Oh my
and
goodness.
It turns out we called them. The guy was clearly not who he said he was, but then he was still arguing with us on the phone. And then we actually did get a hold of the real owner.
Yeah. He was frustrated. You called him.
Yeah, he was really frustrated and he was mad because we strung him along for a few days because it was supposed to disperse like on Friday and this was Wednesday because we were building the case for the FBI. But so I don't know. They took it over from there. But,
Crazy.
it was $300,000 that we would have been out if we would not have had these layers of protection within our system.
Yeah, and these are big amounts.
Yeah.
These wire amounts are big.
$1,000.
Yeah, these are big amounts. So it's like I can sometimes like some of my clients, especially my older clients, they get very, like, hey, I don't want to do that. This whole trust funds, this, that.
They don't want to do anything
Yes.
online. They want everything in person.
I had one of my clients who was buying a condo all cash. It was her retirement savings. She was super paranoid about all that, which, I get.
Yeah, I totally understand that too.
No, it's really scary. And so don't be surprised if a title company that you're working with on a transaction doesn't want to ask you, do you know this person? Have you met them in person? What do you know about them? Because we need to make sure that there's that extra layer of identity because nobody had ever met with this client.
If there's more layers of protection, add them.
Yeah.
Is your client
It's a lot of money. Yeah, add as many as you need to. Make it annoying that you have to have so many layers. You don't want to lose that money.
Cindy's asking me if my client's real and not just my imagination.
Well, you just gotta make sure you really met him. Not just some random call. So,
He told me he's the Prince of Nigeria. I told you.
Yes.
All right, Cindy, we're back here. Let's talk about, I think, your other passion, right? A big passion is your ranch and the horses on your ranch.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. How did you want to come to own a ranch? How did that all come about? And I think my other question is, what is the day in the life of Cindy at her ranch?
Okay.
Is it like Yellowstone?
No.
If anyone's seen the show Yellowstone.
Well, yeah, like when you wake up, like I
Is it
just
like that?
I feel like a ranch. I feel a ranch is a lot of work.
How early do you get up in the morning?
The show, if you've seen the show, that's hard work right there.
Yeah.
How early do you get up?
I haven't even seen the show.
really.
Yeah.
You gotta watch Yellowstone. It's such a great show.
I haven't even seen the show. I just like ranch equals hard work because
Yeah,
there's
it
stuff
is
to
a
do.
lot. It is a lot of hard work, but I'm trying to get it to where it's just more relaxing. But so the whole thing with horses really started. I always say that horses saved me because in 2019 I was very burnt out from work. We were really busy. I hadn't built my management team yet so that I could have more freedom away from work. And so I kind of went through this little funk, and you guys might identify with this, where I would go home after work and I'd literally just sit in front of the TV.
Veg out. Yeah.
And my husband's like, well, let's go do this and let's go do that. Or he'd want to talk to me. And I'm like, I just want to be left alone. And I think it was more just like, I'm a little bit of an introvert. I know it's hard to believe, but that's kind of how I reboot myself. But I wasn't getting that reboot. And so he's like, we really need to find you a hobby. And I'm like, well, the only thing I can think of is when I was young, I used to like to ride horses. So he bought me this 2-hour trail ride. And it's kind of amazing how the universe works, and it just shifts everything around the way it's supposed to be.
The secret.
Yeah. Because it amazes me to think of all the things that had to be shifted and moved in order for this to be my current reality. Because I went out on this horseback ride for 2 hours in Stillwater at this trail place, and I met the owner, Willie, and his girlfriend, Amy, who ended up that she was in the title industry too, working at a different company. And we just had like this instant connection. So I went out there a couple weeks later and leased another horse and went on a ride with them. And then they're like, you could actually lease monthly a horse and be out here all the time with us. Wow. So I ended up, of course, in my obsessive compulsive way, I leased two so I could bring somebody with. And I just developed this great friendship with those guys. And nice. Willie had said to me on that first trail ride, he's like, oh, Cindy, this is like the best life ever. You should just buy a ranch out west and I'll run it for you. So today, Amy and Willie are out in South Dakota running Hay Creek Ranch.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's amazing. That's
story.
amazing.
Yeah, so
That's inspiring.
the following year, they had gone out. They used to go out to Hay Creek, and they were like, you should fly out and meet with us and go for a ride, spend 2 days. And so they trailered their horses out there, and I flew to Rapid City, rented a car, and then drove to Deadwood, and they came and met me and got me out to the ranch because it's very rural out there. And I spent 2 days with them out there, and then I came home, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm just in love, and everything is just perfect. And so then we just kind of started talking about it. And then everything, the guy wasn't going to sell, and he wasn't interested, so we looked at all these other camps. We flew out there twice and looked at a bunch of different other properties, and then all of a sudden, the door opened. The guy called and said he was ready to sell. So within 60 days, it was mine.
You bought it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what title company did you use?
I know. I actually looked into it, but they do things really different out there. And I just was like, nah, I'm not going to go down that road. But I did have a friend from out there who really helped me out a lot. And that went really smooth. And so right now I'm still kind of in the process of giving it the Cindy Koebele facelift. So we've been improving things and excavating and fixing up stuff. And this year, so I went in full bore with social media campaign because the previous owner told me, it'll never work the way you're doing it. I'm like, want to bet? And so last year...
Sounds like a boomer.
Last year, I would say over 40% of our customers that came in were first-timers there. Yeah. And so they were coming in from Kansas and all these different places. So what people do is they come in, they camp with their horses. So they load them up in these big trailers, and they trailer them off to these really cool places to ride horses, and then they camp with them. And when they come with us, they can hook up to water and electric, and we have a dump station for their septic tank.
Okay.
And they can buy, because at our place you have to have certified weed-free hay. So they have to buy that from us, and then we sell merch, and we just, have all kinds of different...
It's like, it's another business for you. It is another business for you. Okay.
I set up a whole new website with the reservation system and took them completely out of the pencil and paper era.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Did the ranch come with the horses, or were you starting then once you bought the ranch, then you had to start to kind of get the livestock and whatnot?
Yep. So I bought 2 horses when I bought the ranch from the guy, but then I had already had a couple back here, and I still keep 2 horses in Stillwater that are like mine and my husband's horses, and we ride them every week.
I have yet to put a horse in a purchase agreement, but I'm looking forward to that one.
I did that one on the side with the bill of sale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, you might have to use a bill of sale with that.
Yeah.
The horse.
I mean, I negotiated everything with that guy, and then I basically did everything for him, so he didn't have to hire a realtor. But then when I was out there, I was like, I'll take that horse and that one. And then, so now it's just been kind of play. So I know you asked me, like, what's your typical day out at the ranch? Now, the people that work out there, they have to get up and check people out and do stuff like that. But for me, it's nothing to see me just standing out in the middle of the pasture playing with the horses.
Okay.
Or like we have this huge hay feeder, and we put this gigantic square bale in there. And I'll just climb right up in there and sit right on top of it, and the horses will just all hang around with me.
I think I want to kind of point out how Cindy has been able to turn her passions or hobbies or things she loves into businesses that make her money. Isn't that?
Yeah.
That's been a common theme here with her businesses and everything.
Everything sounds like it's like passionate, and from there, like you're passionate about title. You moved from the old title company that you're at, created a new culture, and just grinded it out. And look at, you're like a mega house now, and it sounds like you're doing the same thing with the horses and this ranch.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Are you gonna build cabins out there too?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you gonna do else with this?
I have 5 cabins there.
Oh, okay.
So I have, and we went in and just kind of facelifted those and made them super cute and cleaned the heck out of them. And then, of course, I had to go in and buy like custom wood, handmade beds and some nice things so you can have a real rustic, fun experience. But So I don't know. I don't know where this leads. My husband and I are in the process of building a little house for ourselves out there because the people who run it for us live in the main house. And, there's just no reason why I can't work from there too sometimes.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Cindy, tell us about your favorite kid, Charlie.
He's pretty awesome.
Yes. So I went horseback riding in Turks and Caicos and like the ocean, and it was everything Cindy has been saying and more. It's just so beautiful, so therapeutic. I love horses too, and they all just have their own unique personalities too, which is super cool to see because they all are very different. A little snappy, a little more mopey, lazy. Some are more chilled, so some are really hungry. Yeah. So tell us about Charlie, why you like Charlie's your favorite, and what type of personality Charlie has.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to go right before that where I had went to the auction like maybe 6 months before Charlie, and I bought a horse, came home, got on him. He bucked me off, stood right on my chest.
Oh, wow.
Like one just, and I had like big bruise. He could have crushed me. So then it kind of put me into a little PTSD. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I had to decide if I was going to continue to ride or not, because every time I'd get on a horse, even like my tried and true favorite horses, like the ones I leased, I would just shake and I'd want to get off. So I had to kind of rebuild that. So my husband and I bought his horse, and I started there, but it really came together when I got Charlie. Mm-hmm. So Charlie was kind of a misfit because he's just beautiful show horse that has this stripe down one side of his face. So his registered name is Two-Face Charlie, because when he's on this side, he's white, and on this side, he's black. But anyways, yeah, so he had a little issue with his foot, so he was just not the perfect prancer. Yeah. And so he came into my life, and I loved him unconditionally, and he turned out just to be the best horse.
Awesome. How old is Charlie?
He is 11. Okay. He'll be 12 this spring, which they always say, like, what's the best thing about a 5-year-old horse? And they say when he turns 11. Because the older they get, they just get more like been there, done that.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's turned out to be great. Like, he sometimes is a little snotty when I'm getting him ready, but he'll always run in from the pasture when I call him, and he's always really happy to see me. And when I get on him, he's perfect. So...
And it's a connection that and it's like since human.
Yeah, I mean they can hear your heartbeat from feet away. Yeah, and they can sense things. So like the summer I had the surgery, and then the doctor's like, okay, take your time before you go back. So like 10 days after I went out there, and I just wanted to ride so bad, so I got up on him. Then I went around in a circle. Next thing I'm like, I think we'll be fine. Let's go out on the trails. And he literally, he just knew that we couldn't trot. We couldn't gallop. We just had to go through the trails. Take it slow up there. No spooking at a deer, nothing. And every once in a while he'd look back at me like, you got it? All right. Yeah. So it is pretty cool.
That's cool. Awesome. Hey, I've never rode a horse, so I don't know.
The young ones, Cindy was saying, they're wild. The young ones... Yeah. So we had a bunch of horses in Turks, and we had a whole line, and it was just to see, like you said, their different personalities and how they are. They're just majestic creatures. Like I love them, and I wish I had time to do more. But
I was just gonna ask. I can't get this out of my mind and I can't let this podcast go without it. So how did you come up with Charlie? Like, is that Charlie horse? Like.
His name was Charlie when I got him. So his papers by the American Quarter Horse Association, it says, like his birth certificate, it's Two-Face Charlie. Because he has, like, on this side, he's got the white face with white eyelashes, and on this side, he's got the brown face with brown eyelashes.
Oh, wow, that's actually really cool. Okay.
So he's just
you have to show me a photo.
Yeah, I got to see a photo of that.
He's very striking, and he's just a really special little guy.
Yeah, nice.
How long does horses typically live? Because I don't know anything about horses.
Oh, gosh, they can live into their 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
If good health and all that.
Good health and good care and not being tossed around from person to person.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, it's the coolest thing is, I'm going to tell you a couple fun facts about horses, and you'll always think about this. They do not get cold.
See, that's what I've always wondered about a horse, and that might be a dumb question.
How does
but
one
they live
know
in,
that?
But like,
And
Their
it doesn't
skin is
matter.
like
They live
waterproof.
It doesn't matter what breed either.
I mean, if they're really super old, like a geriatric horse, and they may get cold a little bit, because you see these people putting all these blankets on their horses, but they really don't get cold. Like you can.
they don't.
Is it their skin or what? What protects them from that?
Well, like if you see a horse that's getting snowed on, it'll just pile up on their back because their skin is like waterproof. So, but as long as they can get a good steady flow of forage, so like they just have the steady, like eat as much hay as they want, that warms their body constantly. So you see people who like put their horse in the stall at night with heat, and then it has to be like all
Right,
kept.
that's what I
and
thought.
No, they don't. They don't
you
need
leave
that.
the door open to the barn, they'll stay outside.
So they're treating them like puppies, like our dogs,
Yeah.
or like that's my pet.
They'd rather be outside.
They'd rather be outside. Okay, because I was thinking like in Montana, it gets cold there and it snows, and there's a lot of horses.
Yeah.
They can handle it like up to 40 below. I mean, they're
40 below?
Yeah.
yeah.
What?
They really
Yeah.
don't get cold as long as they
didn't
have
know
like
that.
a
I
shelter
did not
from
know
the
that.
wind. Yeah.
Our horses, we went through the water in the ocean, and like they got back out, and it was like their fur was not even wet or anything like
You
that.
see, this might be a dumb.
My horse name was Pilgrim.
Oh, I
Yes.
like
Oh,
that.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pilgrim,
I still
huh?
remember it. Shout out to you, Pilgrim.
See, I thought horses like go south in the wintertime.
Yeah, no.
When it gets warm
What,
again.
like
they
birds?
Yeah, like I thought that.
It's amazing. And the horse community argues about it.
Oh.
About the, and people do tests and all this stuff to see if they get warm. But
Yeah.
they grow their winter coat and
Okay.
they shut it off in the spring. And they really don't, unless they're like elderly or sick, they don't really need to be tended to that way. They just need proper grass, hay, forest.
Yeah, they get pretty spendy too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're definitely.
Yeah, I was gonna ask like how much does it, if someone wanted to buy a horse, how much would they typically spend with the upkeep with a horse through the whole year?
Yeah, depending on if they have it at their house or if they're boarding it, I would say you're probably going to need $1,000 a month for this and that.
Okay.
If you,
Okay, that's not bad.
yeah, you could probably get by with less.
Yeah.
It's more if you, like for me, I was telling you before that I board 2 horses in Stillwater, so I pay like $350 per horse to stay there. But then, if I go on vacation, somebody's watching them. If they fall down or cut their nose on the feeder or something, they're going to call me.
Yeah, they're taken care of.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
See, I think people get the misconception that it's not economically feasible, because it's like when you do think of horses, you're thinking of those like Kentucky Derby top horses that maybe cost like $500,000 to maintain.
Like the stallions.
Yeah.
That's the
And
big.
like they have to be kept separate. They can't be put with any horses.
Yeah.
Because they'll
Why not?
beat them up.
Temper.
Yeah.
Horses fight each
Well,
other.
if they're with girls, they'll breed them.
Oh,
and
yeah,
if they're
that's
with
right.
boys, they'll fight them. So they always have to be kind of separate from the other horses. Which
I'm
is
learning.
sad.
I'm learning everything today.
know.
I thought horses all just
I
get
love
along
this.
with each other.
I'm still learning. Oh, that's the cool thing is there's a hierarchy. So like right now in South Dakota, we had like 6 horses in our pasture. And then we had this baby horse that I brought, whole nother long story. I had him shipped in from Canada. Anyways, he's now old enough to go in with the other horses. So we put him in. Of course, they were mean to him.
little
chased him
initiation
around.
period.
How do they hit them?
They just bite him.
Or do they just bite?
Oh, okay. They nip them. Okay.
It's a hazing period.
Yeah, they kick him and they're
teeth
mean
are
to him.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
I guess
just-
I've never seen that either.
And then I guess they teach him. So like he's only 1. So until he's 3, those guys are going to be teaching him herd etiquette.
I did not know that.
It is so funny. But
Yeah,
then the
that's-
next one that comes in is going to get his butt
Same
beat
thing.
by Easton. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So they all do that. So like when I moved my horses from Lake Elmo to Stillwater, they had to go through the hierarchy fight with the new horses right away to see who's going to be in what position.
So do they just break them up, or do they watch that?
They
like-
watch it to make sure that nobody's going to get like,
hurt?
killed.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. They can trample another horse
Yep.
I mean,
if they all gang up on them.
Usually, Usually nature takes its course.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like when I brought JoJo and Charlie to their place they are now, he's a badass. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
And Charlie, he just runs behind JoJo. And then within a few days, they were fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
They found their spot.
Okay.
But yeah, I did. When I did that out in South Dakota, I sat out there with the whip and chased all the horses away and spent like the whole day out there.
Cindy, I want to ask you about something you mentioned earlier, that you're also an author.
Yes.
And that you've written a total of 3 books.
Yes.
Is that correct? One called Obsessed to Success, which you can get on Amazon. All these books, I believe, you can get on Amazon.
Yeah.
Should have a link.
Pronounce
for the books.
the other title for me. I want to make sure I get it right. What is it? The children's book is called Living the Papa Na Life. Is that?
That's pretty good.
Is that?
Yeah. So
Papa.
the first book was just like a children's book. So that's the what was it, Alec? The Adventures of Puppana Wapana, I think. And then the next one was Puppana Wapana, Living the Puppana Life.
Yes.
So that was the chapter book. So
Okay,
that
wait.
was for
Which
more
one
of
was the
your-
first one? Was the first? Because I see the beagle with the magical
Oh yeah,
nose.
that's what it is.
What's
Sorry.
the Papa Babana?
Puppana Wapana.
Papana Wapana. Yes.
What's
I
that?
was like,
So Puppana Wapana, he was our beagle dog that we had.
Oh, okay.
And when we bought him, his name was Cinnamon, and then over time we started calling him Puppy Wuppy. And then it just evolved.
Yeah,
and
just
then-
what I do with my
dogs,
too.
Yeah, you just call them different names, but they know.
yeah, but the kids always called him Papa.
Yeah.
AKA Papa. But yeah, Puppana Wapana had all these things that happened to him and all these adventures, and he was such a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But so kids really loved saying that name. So my friend and I decided we'd just, hone in on that and write a book. So we wrote that book. It was more of a passion project.
Yes.
You don't get rich off self-publishing in most cases. And then we decided to move on with the chapter book because that was more of like a backpack book that a kid who's learning how to read could just read.
Yeah.
And then after that, I had written these manuscripts, just kind of banged them out on my computer over a couple of quieter winter
That's
months.
impressive, by the way,
And then I
because
went-
people get that stuff written sometimes. Like authors usually hire
Oh,
people.
ghost- yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, that's impressive.
Yeah, it was, it was a process. Like with the business book, I wanted it to be really simple, like a book you could just read in a few hours. I didn't want a book that ties me in for months.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, business books, they're sometimes can be a little slow.
yeah.
Boring.
But, yeah. And
So
I
is that how
wanted
you kind of got into it? You were like the first one, just stories of your dog.
Yeah.
True stories of your dog. And how did the illustration, was it you and your partner? You did the story, they did the illustration, or?
No, I had to hire somebody to do the illustrations, and
Gotcha.
that was like a whole process in itself, like just figuring out how do you publish a book,
Yeah.
and how do you do this, and how do you do that, and so I like to just do things to have the experience. So I did it, and there was always something like you had to get the special number and send
Yeah.
a copy to the Library of Congress, and I don't know, I'm weird. I like doing stuff like that and seeing what the experience is.
Was
like.
there a lot of steps to doing that?
Yeah, it sucked out my living life.
Oh, okay.
So are you?
So I did it again.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, are you planning to write more?
Yeah.
Is there more books maybe in the way?
Sounds like a daunting task.
The ranch
I
life.
don't think so.
The ranch life.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. It was
Too many
fun.
things you doing here.
It was fun to do it. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
Maybe
like,
the next book is about horses. Who knows?
There we go.
I like doing stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like doing stuff too.
I like doing stuff.
Put that
but
one on the record.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. Back in 2016, my brother passed away, and I found all of these cassettes when we cleaned out his house of all this music he used to play in the basement, and he'd lay the keyboard, and then he'd lay the drums, and he'd do everything himself. And so I knew that the family really missed him, and everybody was really sad, and we were all grieving. So I went and I just produced a CD really quick. I mean, it was, these were bad recordings, but I couldn't get them redone. So I just, a friend of mine who has a band showed me this site, and I was able to put everything in there. And now all those songs are on iTunes for the family. They can
Nice.
just
That's
download
beautiful
Yeah,
for a
them.
family.
it sounds
That's
like
beautiful.
you guys as a family, in particular, you have a lot of creativity.
Yes.
A lot of creativity in how you guys do stuff, even how you run your businesses. From your son Alec to you. So I tend to notice that.
It's just fun to do stuff.
Right?
Try things. Check that off your bucket list.
Yup.
If it works, it works. If it doesn't,
it
hey.
works.
Yeah.
Here's a question I had. What's better, Swiss chocolate or American chocolate?
Definitely
Because
Swiss chocolate.
Yeah, right? It was a pretty
I've never had Swiss chocolate.
yeah, it
Oh
was
yeah. Have you ever had a
was a-
Toblerone?
A what?
A Toblerone?
What is
a Toblerone?
It's like a long candy
Yeah.
bar. A lot of times they put them in hotels.
Huh.
They have a little piece you
Yeah.
can break off.
Maybe
or-
I'm not staying at the right hotels.
You're staying you're not staying at the nice hotels. They give you a Hershey's fun size.
I'll stay,
That's what
I'll,
I'm used to, Hershey
I'll stay
Kisses.
in my 4-star
No.
hotels.
So why we asked that question to Cindy is we know that you lived in Switzerland
Yes.
for a couple of years. So obviously we had to ask if their chocolate was really better, and I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah. No, it's very good. And you know Nestle is a Swiss company, so I'm sure you've had their chocolate.
Yes.
But they
Yeah.
but they make it differently depending
Yes.
on where the
True.
so
Okay.
how they produce it in Switzerland is different how they produce it here. So
Yeah,
the
there's
chocolate does taste
Nestle and
different.
Nestle.
Yeah.
Nestle.
That's how you pronounce it over
Yeah,
there?
Nestle.
Nestle.
That's the designer one.
Yeah.
Nestle is like the
Givenchy.
Armani Exchange in Giorgio Armani. Think of it
Yeah.
that way. You go to exchange Armani for Giorgio.
Yeah.
I love that.
No, so how was Switzerland? How was living in Europe? You know, I follow this account on Instagram that shows beautiful landscapes and nature of Switzerland. It's a beautiful country. Obviously, when you bring up Switzerland, it's like the first thing you think of financially is a Swiss bank account.
Yeah. I had one too.
Yeah.
It had like $400 in it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
When I
poor
think of
back then.
Swiss bank account, I always think of the first Jason Bourne movie. When he goes, his Swiss bank account is like 10 passports, a bunch of money, and a gun. I'm like, okay.
you didn't have that lifestyle out there, did you?
No.
Cindy, did you have the Jason Bourne Swiss bank account?
$400.
No. Okay, tell us how that experience was. How did that kind of shape you in a way, and what did you gain from that?
Oh gosh, I learned so much there. So, I mean, I would have to say moving to Switzerland just grew me up because going over there, you've got culture differences. And so in the spirit of just doing things. So when I was there, I got there on like a Friday, and on Monday I had to start my classes for learning German. So every day I went to the Clubschule Migros and did my classes from 8 to noon.
They speak German there? Is that the language?
Of that part. So
of that part.
We were in Bern, which is the capital city. And so there's 3 different languages, actually 4, but the other one's kind of a obsolete language, but they speak French, Italian, and German. And then they all have their dialects. Okay. So the written language, like in the paper and on TV where it's dubbed in, everything is High German, like Germany German. And then everybody speaks their dialect. Kind of like we're talking, gonna want to kind of, shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yep. I get you.
Yeah.
Yep. The slang. Yep.
Yeah. So for me, it was kind of like learning 2 languages at the same time.
So do you know English and German, or do you know other languages too?
No, I still know enough German to get by.
Okay.
By the time I left the country after 2 years, I was fluent.
Okay.
Oh wow.
But
Wow.
I've been back since 1994. But
Have you thought about going back to Switzerland? I'm sure you still have connections there. People,
yeah.
relationships.
Friends and
Yep.
I know what you mean.
yeah, I mean, I've been back to visit a few times since I moved back. Because I lived there from 92 to 94, and I worked for a company over there for the Swiss and the American National Science Foundation. That was really a cool job.
Oh,
Nice.
And I kind of happened upon it
Yeah.
and got to have that experience. I had this really cool scientist that I worked for that really took care of me.
they have the Hadron
Yeah.
Collider there, the stuff that shoots the particles, and I think there was some news recently about that. God, what was it about in regards to some particle they made? But yes, they're big over there in regards to the science. And
Yeah, like the first emails I sent were through the university, and so it was like a DOS system. So I'd have to like.
Was the screen green?
It really kind of was. It was literally like
computer's
just,
huge.
Yeah, like you'd click a button and one sentence would pop out, and then it would break down, and I'd have to wait for weeks for some guy from the university to come fix it.
Fix the computer.
Yeah.
Jeez, how times have changed.
Yeah, it was so different.
So was it a culture shock when you moved out there?
Yeah, it was. I mean, just like leaving the house and going to the train and getting on the train and going into town. I'm used to and grew up with Minnesota nice. Yeah. And people would practically knock me off trying to get on the train.
Really? I thought Swiss people are nice.
Right? They're nice, but they're on a mission. They're just like, get out of my way, I'm getting to the
European.
seat. Yeah. They're like, yeah.
Well, what does that mean?
That when you go, you'll know what that means.
Yeah.
When you go to Europe, you will know exactly what I mean.
Videos.
I just got back from Holland recently too. Yes.
Are they rude there?
Yeah, it's not just like it's not a rude thing. It's just like I got things to do, and you're kind of in the way.
Yeah, they're just more curt.
Yeah,
they're just like.
Rude is New York.
Yes, New York. Yes, I know
rude is New York. They're over there. It's like they kind of know you're a tourist too, so it's just like your thing.
It's just another tourist here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But, a lot of people in Europe like to practice their English skills. So anytime I go anywhere, everyone wanted to talk to me. But then the longer I learned the language, and the better I got, then the rule was always whoever speaks the other person's language better, that's the language we speak. And so, I would go into a store and order a donut or a croissant, and then the person would switch and start speaking to me in English. And I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And I'd keep them back.
No, yeah, you got to put them back.
We're speaking German here now.
Did they call you Yankee girl? Or
No.
they didn't call you Yankee or anything like
no,
that?
the only people that use that Yankee term is mainly English.
Brits?
Yeah, the Brits.
Yeah, people were nice to me, and I'll tell you, the food was unbelievable.
I believe that.
And the walking, like I didn't know when I was only 25 when I went over there, and so we'd go into the Swiss Alps and we'd walk up the mountain, and I'm like, what is this walking up the mountain stuff? Who does that? Well, apparently people do that, so I learned, and then when my family came to visit me, we walked up the mountain, and they said the same thing, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? Because, you get used to it. You like what you're used to, but just, I don't know. I don't know what our farming is like here, but the food there is just good, wholesome, farm to table. I really like that about it. What country would I want to go to? Yeah. I think right now, so a couple years ago, my husband and I went to Italy like twice. And
whereabouts in Italy?
Well, the first time we did Rome and Tuscany, and it was cool because we heard about this guy, Luca, and we hired him, and he just took us everywhere.
Nice.
And then we went back, and then he had us fly into Milan, and so we did like the northern Italy, and then worked our way back to Tuscany. So I really love Italy, but I still want to do the whole Scotland, Ireland thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Those are like my bucket list.
Yeah.
What does that time frame look like?
Scenery.
I don't know, maybe a couple years. It's funny because I do a lot of work with Spare Key. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but that's like a charity that they're very involved with real estate. But I bought a trip to Ireland when I was at the gala through one of the silent auctions. And then the pandemic hit. So 2 years went by, so I ended up donating it back. But we'll see. As long as I don't have to wear a mask, I'll go again.
I think that's hopefully done.
And me too.
You can go to England and just hit all those. That island.
We'll probably do it.
In
a couple of years, but I kind of got busy with the ranch thing, and so then it was like that's where we were going every time.
We wanted to talk to you about travels. We know you like traveling and stuff like that.
I do like it.
You gotta treat yourself. You should go this summer.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
I know it's hard telling a CEO that, but
no, it's I can do more now, which is amazing because over the last 3 years, I worked really hard building this team. So now I have a COO and I have a president. So before I was president and CEO, so now I just really get to kind of oversee.
Yeah, you
and
delegate those tasks.
advise.
To
I
other
think
people. Yeah.
I think people like us, no matter where we are in the world, you know, a part of us is still thinking about our business and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll never stop.
Yeah.
You always do.
Yeah,
Lastly,
you have to if you want to be successful.
Yeah, I think lastly we want to talk about it is December. It is just a few weeks away. Christmas.
Christmas.
Any
Yeah,
plans?
what are you doing for Christmas?
You're shopping. Have you done any shopping? Have you got Alec anything nice?
Yeah. And I'd like to get things done ahead of time. So I think I'm pretty much done shopping, mostly done wrapping, because I'm a little bit of a weirdo that way. And so now I just looking forward to enjoying the time.
Are you a good rapper?
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably are.
These guys know I have to have 4 pairs of scissors during the present wrapping unopening because I use so much ribbon. On the presents.
Yeah. I
They
haven't.
must look real nice.
If
Then.
you get a gift from me, it's just crumbled
Oh, that's
together.
sweet. That's sweet. I like that.
Yeah, just
She's got style with her presents. It ain't just rapping.
You don't even try?
It's like kindergarten stuff. I'll just.
Yeah, I tried. I haven't got the wrapping down.
First of all, I don't have the experience. Okay, so I've never been like
Yeah, that's
wrapping
true.
gifts here.
I know how to wrap them really good.
You
I
do?
just don't go above and beyond with the ribbon thing because I don't know how to tie a ribbon real good. But
I don't do it
I do
fancy.
a perfect.
I just,
Oh, okay.
just enough so I can carry them.
Oh, okay. I can't get the perfect bow.
You don't want to see my wrapping skills. My
So
girlfriend
you're all
knows it's
done.
bad.
You're all pretty much just
Pretty much.
wrapping it up.
Yep. Now I'm just, like.
Is there
for me-
anything you're hoping for? Hint, anyone out there?
Christmas.
Well, I really like the gift of time.
Okay.
There's
gift of
nothing that I love more than just like Christmas morning, my kids, John's kids, so our kids.
Yep.
And then now this year we have a new grandbaby.
Oh,
So-
congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
So that will be fun. And I still stuff all the stockings for all, like my husband and all of our kids, and now Calvin, baby Calvin.
Yeah.
So I have this routine or a tradition where I wrap everybody's stocking stuffers in tissue paper. So everyone gets a different color. And I asked the kids this year, I'm like, can we quit doing that? And I'll just give you guys presents. And they're like, no, get rid of the presents. Give us the stocking stuffers. So I think I'm never going to have to be able to get rid of that.
No, that is nice.
Yeah.
In a world where it's like constantly work, constantly this, that, it's nice to kind of just stop that time for a little bit.
Yeah.
Hang out with the people you love and the people that love you. So
Yeah.
that's I love that.
Is
Make
Christmas
some
your
good food.
favorite holiday?
Yeah, we love Christmas.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
We also heard you're a big fan of the Big Apple, New York.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Heard you tear it up down there when you go over there.
Well, I went once this year, and I wasn't planning to go for a while, just because, after the pandemic, things have just been a little uncertain.
Yeah.
I did go. I did have a good time, but then the ranch kind of replaced that because I
Yes.
used to go probably 3 or 4 times a year, and now I try to get out to the ranch almost monthly. But I still love it. I still have my routine that I like to do. Sometimes I stay down in Soho. Sometimes I stay up at Midtown.
Okay. I was gonna say, what's
And
the
what a-
routine?
Yeah.
You
But
have
what
this
an
down pat.
opposite end of the spectrum type of thing.
It really
the,
is.
The ranch and then New York.
You're right.
It is crazy because I literally used to spend 3 hours in Louis Vuitton with my friend, and she would drink champagne, and I'd have Perrier, and we would just try on everything.
That's how they get you in
Yeah.
the Louis Vuitton store. Their service of like catering to you is like when we were in Dubai and my buddy, not me, my buddy was buying some stuff and like they're even catering to us because we're just hanging out with him.
Yeah.
You're there.
Bringing me out like spark, like it's like a restaurant. I could have literally, I did tell them I was hungry and they brought me some food.
Wow. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
spending that much money in a store,
Yeah, he ended up.
should have some.
I don't even want to say what he ended up spending, but
Well,
so
and
the sandwiches were.
Instead of buying an expensive, never full bag, I could
Yeah,
buy JoJo, John's horse,
There you go.
or half
like
a
that
Charlie,
better.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
You'll have more fun with JoJo.
yeah. So
No.
that, Broadway shows, I still love them. Last time I went, though, I had to wear a mask, and that really annoyed me. So I thought I got to wait a little bit until
Yeah.
that's
Did
done.
you ever get to see the what's the Lin Miranda one? The Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, yeah. What is that?
God, what was
Hamilton.
it called? Hamilton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hamilton.
I'm like,
I
That's
did
epic.
see
Thomas
Hamilton.
Jefferson.
Yeah. How was that
Hamilton.
experience?
I really liked it.
Okay. You
I
like
did.
that a lot.
I mean, the talent was just unbelievable. And I waited a long time to see it because I didn't want to have to buy my tickets a year in advance.
Yeah.
And it was sold out.
Quick.
It was sold out for a long time, and I finally waited long enough for it to be there that I got tickets, and I like good seats. So they were expensive, but it was really
it's
phenomenal.
worth it. Yeah, it's the experience.
I'd see it again.
You would see it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's certain shows that I'd see over and over and over, like Wicked. I'll see that again a million times.
Yeah. I have that about certain movies too.
Like Die Hard. I had to watch that.
I love Die Hard. Is Die Hard okay? I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it a Christmas movie? You already know I was gonna ask. Yeah, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Is. And then I'm a huge fan of Rush Hour. Like, oh my god,
Rush Hour 4 is coming out.
Rush Hour 1, 2, 3. Like, I love those.
I'll probably have to go home now and watch that.
It's so
good. I'm gonna.
It's been so long.
It's so good.
Yeah. It never gets old.
Our final question to you, Cindy. What does the future hold for you? What is there anything? Are you I know you've said taking it day by day, but is there something, people like you are always visionaries. You always see a year, 5, 10 in advance. What do you see?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I went through a lot of thoughts about, if I was going to continue to work long term. And I've come to the realization that I'm probably going to do with my title business, like a Joan Rivers thing, where I'll just always be the figurehead and always be working a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that way I can get the most out of the company over time. And then maybe hopefully talk one of my kids into getting interested in being a succession plan. Mm-hmm. But I definitely want to focus more on the horses. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't mind doing a little breeding. I love those babies. Oh. I do.
Yes.
And, I'm going to have to work through letting them go. Because if you breed for money, you got to sell them. Because right now I just want to keep them all. Yeah. And I definitely want to work on just becoming more comfortable in my horsemanship.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we'll see.
Nice. So just more time at the ranch for you.
Yeah. I mean, I've only been doing horses now for less than 3 full years. I did it younger as a young girl, but you're so fearless at that point. Yeah. So I really want to, I have a lot to learn that I think I can still focus on. And I like spoiling them with chiropractic appointments and acupuncture appointments and massages.
And there's still so much you could do.
There's so much you can do with that, and so much that you can learn and experience will take you there too. So it's a journey.
I'm also really interested in like the bigger picture stuff. Like, like I believe in God and creation and all those things, but I also believe that there's tons of stuff in outer space that we don't know about, and vibrational frequencies, and just
that's a perfect. Can we get you back for another episode?
I mean, I'm still learning so much. But
we can get her back for the manifestation. I think she's done a lot of that throughout her life.
Yeah, I'm really interested. Have you ever watched that Ancient Civilizations or Ancient Apocalypse?
Yes.
I literally watched that twice in one weekend, and I'm like, there's more out there.
That we don't know.
Well, I need to know.
It's kind of spooky.
In regards to that show, I think the thing that was the craziest was the Egyptians and the Mayans were building similar things around the same time, but they had no way of contact or anything. So that was crazy.
Yeah. So I have this Gaia app on my phone now, and I'm constantly watching all these.
All
shows.
Right. We're
out of time.
Yes, we are out of time, and maybe Alec can play the X-Files theme song as we roll out here. That would be a perfect way to end. But no, thank you, Cindy, so much for coming by, for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you. We really appreciate
Thanks for having
me.
We
appreciate it so much here. Everyone here at Weekly Deposit at Superior Realty Group, we want to say thank you.
Thank you. It was very fun.
Coming back?
Yes.
You guys are awesome.
Yes, we hope to have you back.
Thank you.
More stories, more closing day stories, more Charlie stories. So we're excited to have you back.
We'll ring the bell for episode 5.
And we're out. See ya.